Good afternoon. My name is Michael Vigent. I am the Executive Vice President for the Center for Research and Public Policy. We are commissioned by Belmont Municipal Light Department to conduct a 2007 energy conservation study on a number of different areas. Today I will provide you with a brief overview of the findings from our study, but for more detailed information, please feel free to contact the Light Department directly via their website or by the phone number provided on the screen. So jumping right into the survey results, initially speaking, we wanted to understand how customers viewed the Light Department overall on areas such as favorable impression, concern with satisfying customers with the interactions that they have with them, and then also rating the relationship that customers have with the utility. So early on, we learned that a large majority of respondents at 87.3% suggested BMLD is either very concerned or somewhat concerned with the service it provides during interactions with customers. This is important when we're capturing survey results and rating customers on concern, on satisfaction, importance, awareness. We like to see numbers in the mid to high 80s. And as you're going to see throughout the survey, we see that quite often in the questions that we ask. In this very first bullet, 87% suggested they were either very or somewhat concerned or believed Belmont was. In addition, the clear majority of all residential respondents surveyed at 94.3% reported having either a very favorable or somewhat favorable impression of Belmont as a company. Again, we ask these questions early on in the survey because we want to find out what their impression is of the utility, because it will help us identify how they respond to questions further on in the survey. A very important question, and probably one of the most important questions throughout the survey, is when we ask them to describe their relationship with Belmont Municipal Light Department. And as you'll see here, 94.5% describe their relationship as either an advocate at 7.5%, a loyal customer at 20%, or a satisfied customer at 67%. And on this chart, you see we break it down. This is the loyal, the advocate in the red charts, satisfied customers in the yellow bar, and less than satisfied, just a few folks at 3.8%. But what's important about this chart is those folks that are identified in red, or 27.5%, describe themselves as either an advocate or a loyal customer. Why this question is important is that when we're looking at results and those types of things, we can see that those folks who describe themselves as loyal or advocate are traditionally the folks that are willing to take advantage of programs, services, or products that are offered by the utility. 27% is actually a strong number. When we're looking at similar results across the country, we normally see results 12 to 20, 22% of folks describing loyal or advocate. So this is a good number, and we also see that 67% describe themselves as a satisfied customer. Obviously, we want to try to move folks from satisfied to loyal and advocate, but the overall cumulative number of 94.5% is very strong. Our next area for investigation was cost. We saw that 26% believe the prices they pay to Belmont for electric service are lower than surrounding towns. However, more than 2/5 of all respondents at 42% reported being unsure of how Belmont's prices compare with surrounding towns. So of those folks who knew enough about their prices, 26% believe that their prices are lower than what other towns are paying. 42% reported being unsure of how their prices compare with surrounding towns. Importantly, however, more than 2/3 of all customers surveyed at 70.5% either strongly agree or somewhat agree that Belmont is doing all that it can to keep rates low. So while 42% are unsure of how their rates compare, there's a larger number at 70% who believe, yes, my utility is doing all that it can to keep my rates low. This is important. Further, when we asked folks to compare other products and services purchased, the majority of those surveyed at 80.1% agree the price for value with electricity today is either very or somewhat reasonable. Again, 42% don't understand how you compare to surrounding towns, but 70% trust Belmont is doing all that it can, and even more so, 8 out of 10 people, or 80%, agree that the price for value with electricity today is either very or somewhat reasonable. So this is good. For those folks, the 20% who believe that prices were unreasonable, we wanted to go ahead and ask them why they thought that was. What was the reason that they believed prices were not in relationship with value today? And we see that about 71% agree that oil and natural gas prices are the largest contributors to rising electric prices. And as the Northeast and much throughout the country, we've seen increases in natural gas prices, increases in some oil prices, prices at the pump for your car. All these things contribute to how they feel about their electric prices at home. It hasn't had much impact on how they rate their prices. As we mentioned in the previous slide, 80% still agree the price for value is good. However, they do blame some of their negativity on oil and natural gas prices. So on this next chart here, we show the breakdown of how folks view price for value. In many cases, when you see an 80% number, the initial thought is that the other 20% believe that it's unreasonable or that the price isn't valuable. And that's not the case here. We see about 8% suggest that price is unreasonable in terms of its value, but there was a number of folks that provided a don't know response. And anytime you're looking at survey results, it's important to look past just the positive numbers because the opposite side of the positive is actually broken up into negative, neutral, and don't know responses. So the opposite of a positive 70% isn't always a 30 negative. 4 statements were asked of folks. Oil and natural gas prices are the largest contributors to rising electric prices. That was 70.5% agreed with that statement. Electric utility efforts to increase profits are the single largest contributor to rising electric prices. Not as many folks agreed with that. What we were trying to get at here is, are people blaming the electric utility for rising electric prices, or are they blaming outside sources? And as we saw in those 4 statements, it was really the outside sources which were lending any negative thoughts towards electric prices. On services, we asked folks, all residential respondents, what they believed about Belmont offering energy-related products and services in addition to providing electrical service. And what we're trying to get at here is, do customers believe that Belmont should just stick to providing electric service, or do they view them as a responsible provider of additional services? And it was essentially broken right down the middle. 42% believe Belmont should offer a number of energy-related products and services in addition to providing electrical service, while 45% believe Belmont should only offer electrical service to its customers, and 13% were unsure. At the end of the day, the folks that only want Belmont to provide electrical service are concerned that if they offer more services, it's going to take away from the strong reliability and the good service that they've gotten in the past. The way that Belmont can overcome this is through their communication efforts with customers, letting them know, we're offering additional services and products to you for your benefit, but please be assured that this will not impact the reliability and the customer service that we've brought to you in the past on the electric side. This chart just breaks it down on what they think they should offer. Only electrical services is in the red at 45%, additional energy-related products and services at 42%, or that yellow bar, and 13% provided a don't know response. Awareness and importance of energy conservation. In this particular section, we wanted to get at if folks thought energy efficiency and conservation was important, their awareness of programs and services that were available to them as residential customers, and their willingness to change some of their habits moving forward to lower their bills and increase the amount of conservation efforts that they're putting forth at their house. As probably no surprise to anyone, the clear majority of respondents at 98% reported conservation of electricity and energy efficiency is either very important or somewhat important. In addition, 58.8% of all respondents surveyed suggested they are more aware of electric energy conservation benefits and energy efficiency compared to their awareness level 1 year ago. Going back to rising gasoline prices, oil and natural gas prices, folks started taking a closer look at the spending that was taking place within their household, and many felt there are things that I can do to conserve energy, so they started looking into what was available through their electric utilities or their other utilities for that matter, and taking a look and understanding some of the benefits that were available to them. Our next section covered history and lifestyle. In this particular area, we wanted to find out, okay, you are more aware than you were last year at this time about the benefits of energy conservation, but how willing are you or how likely are you to make those changes within your household to take advantage of some of these efficiency benefits? And what we saw was that 87.5% reported to agree either very strongly or somewhat strongly that there are things that they can do within their own household to use energy more efficiently. And you see just a small percentage of folks in this chart here in the red there don't believe that there are things that they're doing. Either they're doing a great number of energy conservation efforts at their house already, or they just don't understand some of the benefits that are out there and what they can do. So through conservation communication from Belmont Municipal Light Department, it'll help increase their knowledge on what's available, and then they can take a look. But the strong majority of folks do believe that there are things that they can do within their home to utilize energy more efficiently. On the flip side of those that are willing to make efforts and make strides, there's always those folks that are unwilling or not interested, and we wanted to find out what their barriers to participation. And we also wanted to understand what the market was. So if Belmont Municipal Light Department is going to invest in products or services that eventually go out to their customer base, we want to make sure that there is a market for them. And what we found was that 78.3%, or just over 3/4 of all the respondents surveyed, reported being either very interested or somewhat interested in learning more about energy efficiency programs. So yes, there is a market. For those folks who weren't interested or showed a lack of interest, we want to understand what their barriers to learning more about energy efficiency programs were. And they were reported by respondents as no specific reason, just no interest, don't use much energy at 18.7%, no time to research, 17.3%, don't trust the sponsors, 10.7%. And that's not necessarily Belmont. It may be outside third-party sponsors that are providing these programs. Unaware of program specifics at 8%, and don't see any savings at 4%. The good news here is that most of the barriers that are presented by customers are able to be overcome by communicating the benefits, by communicating who the sponsors are and the trust levels associated with Belmont Municipal Light Department, and also taking the stress out of it for them. Folks don't feel in their busy lives that they want to spend all kinds of time researching benefits. By you saying, we've done the homework for you, here's the savings, here are the benefits, you don't need to go research it, we're your utility, you can trust us. So communication and just doing some of the homework for customers will help remove or eliminate a lot of these barriers that folks recommended. So we broke down interest in energy efficiency programs. We wanted to put it on a slide for you. 14% said, you know what, I'm just not at all interested in energy efficiency programs, and that's not uncommon. There are always, in every study that we do, a number of folks who just don't have an interest, but that 76% did report being either very or somewhat interested in learning more. So there is a market out there. Further, we wanted to ask folks, and we read them a brief program description about real-time pricing and wanted to understand if they felt that it was something that was important for Belmont to offer. What we saw was 68.5% agreed that it was either very or somewhat important for Belmont Municipal Light Department to offer real-time pricing. And this is similar, for those of you who may be unaware with what real-time pricing is, similar to how your cell phone works with off-peak and on-peak hours and getting a reduced price during those off-peak hours. So this was, we read a description to customers who answered the survey so they knew what we were talking about. We educated them briefly on the topic and asked if they felt it was important. 68.5% did agree that it was important for Belmont to offer this real-time pricing. And in addition, 56.8% reported to be either very likely or somewhat likely to take advantage of real-time or variable pricing if offered by Belmont. So it might be fine that 68% report that it's important, but are you going to take advantage of it and utilize, are you likely to take advantage of this type of service? And we saw that more than half did report a likelihood to investigate or shift some of their habits for this real-time pricing. And it's things such as doing laundry and using some of your more energy consuming products in the evening times and on the weekends to get that reduced rate. And on this next chart here that you'll see in a moment, we see that 56%, or that 56.8, reported to be either very or somewhat likely. The last bar on the right there is 17.8%, or the gray bar, and they said they don't know, they were unsure, or it depends on the cost of the savings. So again, here's an opportunity for Belmont to come back and say, if you shift your usage, if you take advantage of this service and do your laundry in the evenings or on the weekends, here's the approximate dollar amount, if your bill was X amount, that you could save each month. So they can do some of the homework for their customer base and let them know, here's the savings that you would see immediately if you took advantage of this pricing and shifted some of your usage. And you'd see, once that information is out there and available, you'd see the number of don't know folks decrease and probably move into the likelihood category. Among those respondents, which was the 42.5%, reporting a potential likelihood to investigate solar panel technology for their home, 2/5 at 39.4 reported to researchers they would be either very likely or somewhat likely to make the estimated investment of $12,000 to implement solar panel technology at their home if it could ultimately lower their monthly electric bill by up to 33%. So again, we didn't just ask them, would you be willing to spend $12,000? We explained some of the background information with solar panel technology and how the benefit, even though there was an upfront cost of almost $12,000, that the benefit is that it could immediately reduce their energy bill or their monthly electric bill by up to 33%. If knowing that, we wanted to find out how likely folks would be, and of the 400 respondents, 67 of them said that they would be very or somewhat likely to investigate. They're not going to write out the check tomorrow, but they'd be willing to investigate this solar panel technology, again, if they understood that their electric bill would be reduced by up to 33%. And then finally, we wanted to test some support or opposition for some wind power structures, as that's a topic for discussion in this area. And what we saw was that nearly 2/3 of all respondents, at 62%, reported to either strongly support or somewhat support a decision by Belmont Municipal Light Department to build wind power structures that could be as tall as 300 to 400 feet in height. And the reason that we put in the height is, as we're asking customers these questions, we want to let them know if these are built, they could be 300 to 400 feet in height, which could be in your line of sight from your home. If that's the case, would you be in support of it? And we saw that nearly 2/3 of all respondents, after understanding that, were still in support of Belmont building these wind power structures. Doesn't mean that tomorrow they're going to start. This is just early market research, and they wanted to find out, A, what the support or opposition was among their customer base. But we tested a number of different areas throughout the survey. Again, for more detailed information, you can go to the electric department's website or call them directly. The numbers and website have both been placed on the screen. I'll also put it on my last slide here. But for more information, please give them a call, and thank you very much.